Chief, Mr. Mayor, ma'am. Nice to see you folks. It sounds to me like from your testimony that most of the conversation is about illegal firearms. Would you say that maybe give me a rough percentage of like how many crimes are committed with illegally obtained firearms versus someone who is a lawful gun owner, you know, committing a robbery or a murder?
Oh my God, the numbers are off the chart, and you can't compare. It's it's watermelons to apples. No,
Right.
no.
So it's almost all illegal
Yeah.
guns. Are you familiar with the statewide firearms trafficking task force?
Not really.
It's a program that existed right after Sandy Hook. It was passed as part of the comprehensive gun control that was passed at that time. And it was one of the things that I appreciated very much. It was funded at $1 million. But what's shocking about it, it was only funded for 1 year. And I've actually talked to some officers from various towns across the state that participated in that. And they said it was very helpful for getting illegal firearms off our streets. It allowed police departments to work together as far as gang activity and that kind of thing. I have actually tried to put that bill in many, many times. In fact, I put an amendment in last year in this committee, and sadly it failed because of the cost. But do you think that that would be a positive to reinstate that program to help get illegal gun trafficking, and crack down on that?
Anything that we can do to get illegal guns off the streets of the state of Connecticut, I'm with it.
I appreciate that. So, and I'm very sympathetic. I mean, I can't even imagine being a Bridgeport cop. I mean, that's got to be a very difficult job and stressful every day. And I certainly respect what you said, and my colleague Representative Dubitsky already mentioned this, that and I share his opinion that I don't believe police officers have any intent to go hassle people or they're going to abuse their authority in any way. But nonetheless, we have a constitution, and that's the objection that some of us have to this SB 60. Not to mention the racial profiling aspect of it. I think that if there was a situation where law enforcement is now put in a position where they have to respond to every call of someone carrying a firearm, they're going to do it, and it can be used by other members of the public to disrupt things. If they just don't like the fact that someone carries in a certain location, they can continually call and make law enforcement show up and ask someone. In the subway situation we talked about earlier, was the gentleman, and I know there's a video out there, I haven't seen it since it happened, it was a few years ago, but was that gentleman doing anything prior to being engaged by the store clerk?
I don't believe so. I believe that I believe the store clerk thought that he was going to be robbed, that there was going to be some kind of a crime being committed, and he was alarmed, and that's why he called the police. Understood.
When it became clear that the person was not going to rob the store, either the clerk became aware of that when he realized that it was perfectly lawful for him to be carrying a firearm, or when the first officers on the scene showed up, shouldn't that have been the end of the situation? I don't know why it was allowed to escalate.
It should have been. We did not want it to escalate. Dontrell Brown wanted it to escalate. He's the one. He was calling the shots. He was challenging the police officers. He would not. All he had to say was, "Yeah, I have a pistol permit, and I have it right here in my hand."
Understood.
And that would have been the end of that.
So yeah. So the thing is that he did have a pistol permit.
Yeah.
And he did not commit a crime.
No.
Did he ever commit a crime?
No, not that well, maybe a little bit of disorderly conduct when he engaged the police officers, but we took the high road on that one. Okay, we took the high road on that one.
Understood. But you can understand why some people might look at that situation and say that this person was minding their own business, the same as if they were driving down the street or they were mowing their lawn, and someone called and said, "This guy is mowing his lawn. You need to go over there and talk to him." I know that's a ridiculous argument, but there's nothing illegal about carrying a firearm, and there's nothing illegal about mowing your lawn. That's my point, is that if you're just minding your business and you're doing something that is not a crime, Why would law enforcement need to show up for that purpose?
Well, you know, a lawnmower doesn't shoot bullets, but a gun does. And so what Dontrell was doing.
Chief.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to remind the audience that we are trying to hear the testimony. When people are responding in the audience, it actually makes it difficult to hear the testimony. So we would ask you to refrain from doing so. You may continue.
Thank you, sir. So when somebody carries a handgun, an AR-15, an AK-47, a shotgun, okay, and it alarms people, it scares people, okay. You got terrorists out there. You got people who do not deserve to carry these weapons because they don't have a license. Dontrell Brown did have a permit, but what he was doing, he was purposely challenging the officers, creating.
Well, I mean, between you and me, I mean, my recollection is that he was simply stating that the officers did not have a right to ask him for his permit because he was minding his own business and not breaking any laws.
Yes,
he
kept saying that.
I understand that you consider that to be escalation. I guess that's why we're here today,
right?
Is to determine whether or not Dontrell Brown was correct or not, whether or not he was not violating laws and he did not deserve to be detained by law enforcement. And this law attempts to change that, although between you and me, Chief, I don't think that passing this law makes any difference whatsoever, because I don't believe the state of Connecticut has the power to override the Constitution. And I think that the same exact circumstance will occur whether this happens or not. Because if it was me, I would exercise my Fourth Amendment right and explain to the law enforcement that I'm not breaking any laws. You don't have the right to detain me, and the Connecticut law doesn't matter when I have my constitutional rights. So, I mean, I think that's a concern, is whether or not we actually have the power to do this, even if we wanted to. Mm-hmm. And just your personal opinion, and I'm really trying to get to the heart of this because I want to solve this issue once and for all, so I don't have to see this bill come back year after year and argue about the Constitution. Is there a point at which reasonable suspicion is correct? In other words, that's the standard for pulling over a car. You can't just do it because you want to pull someone over. You need to have a reason. It doesn't even have to be a very important reason, but it's got to be a reason nonetheless. If the store clerk at Subway had called and said there's a guy carrying a gun, but he's acting suspiciously, would that have been enough to maybe satisfy that reasonable suspicion requirement when the officers showed up?
Yeah, I think so. And
right. Well, see, that's my point.
But here's the thing. What Dontrell was doing, he was doing it on purpose to challenge law enforcement. He could have walked 3 blocks down the street, okay, and he could have been in Green Holmes' apartment. And over there, they saw Dontrell carrying that gun. Those kids that were over there, they wouldn't ask him if he had a pistol permit. They would have taken out their own guns, okay, and they would have taken it away from him one way or the other. So there's a big difference, okay. Maybe I'm not making a little bit of sense there, but let me tell you, police officers who responded on that day acted with tremendous discretion. All right, they didn't violate his rights, even though Dontrell, was trying to violate theirs. All right, so yeah. What?
How was he attempting to violate their rights? And again, I really don't want to debate this with you. That's not my point.
Not at all. You know how? Because he failed to show his pistol permit, his legit pistol permit. All he had to do is go on his wall, gave him the permit. He was egging them on.
Do you object to private gun ownership by folks that have satisfied the requirements in the state?
Not at all. I own many guns myself.
Understood. Okay, and that's good. I appreciate that very much. Thank you much, Mr. Chairman.
Representative Fishbone.